So there are a few elements of marketing that hold very true here. One, again, we use the term developer, but your developer is going to be different in some respect than this global developer idea. So if you're a marketer and you say, how do I find developers, and start looking at broad developer events, it's not going to serve you well. Focus on the developer that is using your product today, the ones that are being successful. There is a risk here that you over optimize for today's audience, sacrificing future's audience, but you need to know that. So you should be persona focused. A persona or a journey, what I call in perspective, is more than just what is their title and what do they do. It is what are their motivators? What are they building? Why are they building it? What are they trying? How are they trying to advance their career? Where do they fit kind of in the developer world? How engaged are they in your community, et cetera? Best way to do that is to look at your current developer audience. If you don't have that luxury, you know, that can be challenging. But if you do, if you already have a developer audience, even if it's 10 people, understanding why they are committed, because generally developers become very committed to the tools that they use. Like once they're in, they're in. And so you probably have that audience, figure out where they came from, what they're doing, how they got there, what they liked, what they didn't like, what are they passionate about. I think you'll be very surprised at the answers that none of it is going to relate to an email or an ad that they received. I have an asterisk here, and that asterisk is open source communities. Open source communities that have a commercial aspect, either a SaaS hosted offering or a commercial version, and it's actually open core, your approach has to be radically different. Everything I said in this talk is true times 10.
Right.
Because if you're in the back of your mind is, if we just convert 2% of the open source community, we are going to be rich, then you're doing it wrong. And that is a dangerous place to be, because open source communities need to be respected. The boundaries are very clear and dry. And actually you have two DevRel strategies. You have one DevRel strategy for the open source community, and you have a DevRel strategy for the commercial product. On the open source side, I'd say your priority is scale. Like if you have an open source community today, which most organizations are going to already be starting with a community because they usually use that community to raise money. So if you have an open source community today, you already have the seed. Don't ruin that. Don't try to create a new one. Let it be. Your job is scale. So it's a community effort, which means you want to help create more connections, peer-to-peer connections. You want to help make the work more visible. That's your job. So you're making more visible what the community is doing. You're trying to get the community to be more connected. So you push that envelope out to be bigger and bigger and bigger. But you don't interfere. You do not interfere with the conversations. You do not interfere with the content, and you do not put anything in front of them that looks like you're trying to sell a commercial product. A lot of times, the active open source user is not a commercial customer anyway. And so it's not the best use of your effort to go that path. So I think you draw a very clear line. How do you get them to make the jump over the fence so that you can have the commercial conversation? They need to elect to do that on their own.
Okay.
And again, scale and connections. If you expand the awareness and the reach and the breadth of the open source community, not only are you going to help the deals that are happening that were initiated on the commercial side, you eventually will have somebody in the community realize when they've hit a wall, when it's become too complicated, when they need more, when they need more scale, when they need better performance, whatever your value prop is over the open source, they will realize it for themselves. So I know there's a bit of confidence and trust that has to come with it, but I've seen organizations do this very well. I've seen vast majority of organizations do this very poorly.